Today we're going to talk about the world's very first surgery. It's going to start out when Genesis 2:7 tells us the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed in his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living soul. You see, the animals didn't have this breath of God breathed into them. That was designed only for Adam and Eve. Now, Eve wasn't made out of the dust of the ground. We'll get to that in a minute. But there's some proof here that God created man. Did you know that the human body is composed of the same elemental materials that make up the dust of the ground? Do you think that's just coincidence? I don't. Then God planted the Garden of Eden, and he put man in it. Then God looked down at man and said, "It isn't good for man to be alone." He'd already created the animals, and they all had mates. He says, we need to make him a helper. But he didn't make her out of the dust of the ground. But he took one of Adam's ribs, the world's very first surgery. He caused Adam to fall into a deep sleep. God was the anesthesiologist. And he took one of his ribs. And then he closed up the place with flesh. That's a surgery. That's a surgery. And Adam said, "Now this is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man." And verse 24 finishes that with, "That is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife. They become one flesh." So it looks to me anyway that God was setting up the institution of marriage here. He made a woman from the rib and brought her to the man. As a side note, I have seen it said that women have one more rib than men, or men have one less rib than women. This is not so, nor does it prove the Bible wrong. Let me explain. Eve had one more rib, but Adam's loss of a rib was temporary. Ribs are known to regenerate if the surrounding membrane is left intact. Adam continued to have genetic information for a complete set of ribs, and this would pass on to his offspring. Think of it this way. If someone loses a finger, or someone loses an arm, or has their appendix or their gallbladder removed, would that person's children be born without them? Of course not. Oh, if you'd enjoyed this word, hit subscribe and come back next Sunday when we'll talk about who God is. Bye for now.